What's up, yo? Welcome to the Young Legends podcast, where we teach you the cheat codes of the game of life. I'm your host, Caption, aka Caption Red. I hope you're doing well wherever you are, and I'm really excited about the episode that I'm dropping today about goal setting. Now, I have a question for you. What do Tom Brady, Kevin Hart, and Martha Stewart all have in common? The answer is, I own a jersey for each one of them. That's right. And in case you're wondering, on the back of my Martha Stewart jersey, it just says Martha with an exclamation mark after her name, followed by 2 more exclamation marks. Now, the real answer to that question is this. All 3 of those people are self-made people who accomplished their goals and made their dreams come true beyond their wildest imaginations. They had goals with their life, and you should have goals with your life as well. Now, here's a quote that I really like that goes, "If you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time." Zig Ziglar. Now, when I was back in high school, I started seriously lifting weights in the 2nd semester of my 10th grade year. Now, when I first started, I didn't see any progress for the first few months, and many goals are this way. But after about 5 months' time, I started seeing some real progress. And when I started seeing progress, I'm going to be honest, I started wearing tighter shirts. Why? Because I looked in the mirror and I said to myself, I did that. Now, side note, I found one of my old shirts that I wore back when I was a senior in high school, when I was actually a senior in college, and I put it on, and I couldn't believe how tight it was, and I was laughing at myself. It was just a hilarious moment in my life. But I was proud of myself for what I accomplished. And that's why pro athletes, that's why musicians, and people in general can be so boastful of the skills that they've developed, because they did that. Now, if you want to feel good about yourself, if you want to build up your self-esteem, understand that there's no shortcuts to self-esteem. In order to feel good about yourself, you got to make progress, achieve your goals, get swole, and then you get to feel good about yourself. Now, today I'll be covering goals, because you need clarity on what you want in life. And in the next episode, I'll cover systems, which is essential for you getting your goals done. But in the meantime, if you listen to my episode on building habits, that will help you not only to understand how to build habits and make them a part of your lifestyle, but also give you some info on the ideas of systems, because habits are the foundations of everything in your life, including your goals, and your dreams and everything that you want depend on having good habits. So I'll make sure to tag those episodes in the show notes so you can check them out. So how do you decide what goals to have? You start by creating your vision. So go somewhere where you won't have any distractions, somewhere serene, and go outside if the weather's permitting. And ask yourself, what do you really want? And these goals should get you super excited. The thought of them should send electricity up your spine. And then start writing down your goals. Write down 10 to 15 things that you want to accomplish by December 31st, 2021. Once you've made that list, circle your top 5. And then put a star next to your top 1 to 3. Now, you can do all 5, but understand that you'll be better off with less goals because you'll have less things to focus on. Now, there's no hard and fast rule on this. If you want to circle 7, I'm not going to kick down your door and put you in a headlock. I'm on parole. I can't do stuff like that anymore. Jokes, just jokes. But anyways, make your list of things you want to accomplish this year. And I'll share a couple of mine real quick. I want to have 2 episodes banked, which means saved up, and get ahead of my podcasting schedule. And I want to do this by March 1st. Another one is emailing 147 qualified potential guests. And I'll get into why I picked 147 later in the episode. And actually, a third one I'll share with you is to be able to bench press a VW Bug 15 times straight. And I think I can do that because I'm at 10 right now. So I just got to keep pumping that iron. Now, before we get into the nuts and bolts of goal setting, I want to share 5 principles of successful goal setting from the folks at positivepsychology.com, which is not just a website, but a network of qualified practitioners who are experts in the field of positive psychology. So here are the 5 principles. Commitment. You need to be committed. I like the phrase to the moon or bust because it says we are going to do this or we are going to die trying, which is another one of my favorite phrases. Because if you are ready to quit all the time, you are not committed. You need to commit to your goals. You need to promise yourself that you are going to continue on. A lot of podcasters fade out after 7 episodes. You want to know why? Because they are not committed to podcasting. They just started it on a whim, and then things got hard, as they oftentimes do, and then those people quit. Now, here's the thing. Some people quit for legitimate reasons. Maybe it was a bad idea. Maybe it wasn't right for them, or maybe they got into it for all the wrong reasons. But a lot of people quit because it's difficult. And the people who stick things out are the people who are committed. Another principle, clarity. Ask yourself, what am I trying to accomplish? You need to make SMART goals, and I'll talk more about that later in the episode. They have to be challenging. If they're too easy, you'll get bored. But if they're too hard, you'll get discouraged and give up. So they have to be in this middle ground area, but they also have to stretch you. And oftentimes you'll hear people say, if you want to get better at something, play against someone who is better than you, because it stretches you and it challenges you. But if you play against someone that's way better than you, then it's too challenging and then you don't actually get better. Another principle, complexity. If it's too complex, you're likely to give up. You gotta break it down and make it more simple so that you're not working your way through a tangled mess, because life is already complex enough without your goals being complex. Also, feedback. And they say that immediate feedback is the most effective thing. And basically you want to just answer the question, how am I doing? All right, so here's some great tips from the people at Positive Psychology on the 5 steps to goal setting. Now, this applies to all goals, but especially long-term goals. First step, identify your goals with a focus on being realistic and specific. Second step, break down these goals into smaller steps with timeframes and deadlines. Next step, identify potential obstacles between you and your goals. I always run into the same obstacle, which is Chuck Norris. Now, that's a joke. Actually, he always runs into me. Next one, build a schedule and allow enough time to pursue your goals. And you'll do this by scheduling. And I'll get into scheduling in just a little bit. And the last step is get her done. Just kidding. That's not what they said. That's what I'm saying. Get her done. Now, before we get started, a couple of really important principles to focus on. For example, having process goals versus outcome goals. So process goals are like wax on, wax off, right? Danielson knocking out all those cars, right? That's a process goal. But taking out Johnny in the championship with a kick to the face, that's an outcome goal. And pro basketball teams say this all the time. They say, trust the process. So focus on the process versus focusing on the results. Because the results, oftentimes you don't have control over them. Think about basketball players. They can make 300 extra baskets a day. They can run an extra 2 miles in 16 minutes after practice for conditioning. But they can't make a goal to score 15 points a game because people may not pass it to you. You might get double teamed a lot. There's a lot that's not in your control. Also with musicians, if they have a goal of winning a Grammy, that's the wrong goal. And I know any musician would love to win a Grammy, but the end results are out of your hands. They're in the judges, not yours. So focus on things you can control, particularly process goals. So for a musician, that's like spending X amount of hours a day writing music and X amount of hours a day practicing. And if you're new to this, then maybe you want to start small. Otherwise, you're going to burn out. And with weight loss and money, you can still focus on the process goals and not the outcome. And let me say this real quick. If you focus on the process, you will get the outcome. So for weight loss, maybe it's eating 5 servings of vegetables a day, or running 2 miles. And with money, maybe it's sticking to your weekly budget and maybe even a daily budget. See, when I was pumping iron in high school, I did not have an outcome goal. I did not say I want to have a bench press of this and a squat of this. I didn't focus on that. I focused on the process, and the goal was to work out different parts of my body using X number of sets a day. And because I focused on the process and I was consistent, I was able to have the results that I wanted. And consistency is key to getting your goals. Also, don't focus on the negative. Again, the folks at Positive Psychology say to stop focusing on the negative and make your goals more positive. So instead of having a goal of stop eating so much junk food, turn your goal into something more positive, like I want to feel healthy and will change my diet in order to do so. Now, my old goal was to stop joining a different gang every week, and then I ended up switching it to make friends with more positive people. Now, as I give you these 2 examples, both of these aren't specific enough because they need to be a lot smarter, and I'll explain that in a second. Another thing, you can focus on just a task or the quality time of doing something. And this kind of depends on you. You can try both. And when it comes to anything in life, always do what works best for you. So Tim Ferriss, who's a very accomplished podcaster / author / many things, says when you're starting off writing, just have a goal of writing 2 really bad pages a day. And if you're starting off, set a low goal so that you can accomplish it, and then that'll help you to go along because you're just starting and you never want to go too crazy when you first start. But there are times where this doesn't work. Now, if you're an accomplished poet, you're not just going to sit here and say to yourself, I just need to write a poem every single day. That's not a bad goal, but it is a bad goal if you start writing bad poetry. So for poets, maybe it's sitting down and writing for just an hour a day. Or on a more extreme end, as a basketball player, what a player could do is say, hey, I just want to get 300 shots up in 15 minutes, right? Well, what if they miss all 300 shots? That doesn't make them a better player. Let's say you say to yourself, I am going to approach 100 females at the mall today. And then what do you got? A bunch of restraining orders. So decide what's best, focusing on the task or focusing on quality time. So with all that being said, now you got to make your goals SMART. SMART is an acronym, and we're going to start with the first letter, which is specific. Ask yourself, what do you want to achieve? And if you say, I want to be a better guitar player, that's not specific, okay? But saying, I want to learn 7 chords, or I want to be able to play Stairway to Heaven, that's specific. Also, make it measurable. This has to do with numbers. How many? How many pull-ups? And what amount of time? Make sure that your goal is measurable. Also, make sure that your goal is achievable. And it has to be achievable so you don't feel like a failure, so you don't give up. Because like I said earlier, if you set your goal too high, you'll get discouraged. And that might cause you to quit. Also, make sure it's relevant. Make sure your goal matches your long-term vision. This shouldn't be a problem, but sometimes we make goals because they sound cool, and that's never a good reason, because that might take us away from our long-term vision. Also, make them time-specific. Give them deadlines. Give yourself mini goals to get to that deadline. Now, why did I say 147 emails earlier? Well, 3 emails a week times 49 weeks equals 147. Why 49 weeks and not 52? Because most people take a week off for Thanksgiving, and most people take the last 2 weeks of December off, and therefore they're not checking their emails. So look at the goals that you have and rewrite your goals now and check off each one of these when you do. And you may not be able to remember all this, so I'll put each one of these aspects in the show notes so that you don't have to re-listen to this. Now, once you have your yearly goal, you got to break them down. Now, many experts actually say that instead of yearly planning, you should do your planning in 12-week increments, which is 84 days, or 90-day increments. And I think that's good advice and advice that I like to follow. But I want you to get excited about your goals. And there's something sexy about 5,000 pull-ups or $10,000. That isn't the same when you break it down to $1,150 or $2,300 in 12 weeks, which those are significant numbers, but they don't get us as excited as those big numbers that I just mentioned. Now, after you've written out your goals, break those goals down into 12-week goals, and then break those 12-week goals into weekly goals. And this is just basic math at this point. And once you come up with weekly goals, you can make your weekly plan. And you can start scheduling the things out that you need to do in order to capture your big goals. Now, here's the thing about success. A to-do list doesn't work. Instead, put it on a calendar. The most successful people in the world work from a calendar, not a to-do list. Now, Elon Musk manages his schedule in 5 to 10 increments, which means he's really efficient at dropping a deuce, amongst many other things. Although I don't want to think about him dropping a deuce. Never mind. Moving on. So when we do our calendar, you can do it in 2 different ways. You can do it on paper, or you can do it on Google Calendar, or you can do it on paper, then Google Calendar. I like Google Calendar because it reminds me of the stuff that I need to do when I need to do it. And sometimes it also reminds me to take a break because you do need to schedule in breaks and also resting and relaxing time. And yes, I know that notifications are annoying. My GPS notifies me all the time. My GPS app is a little annoying because when I'm driving, I'm listening to an audiobook or a podcast or music. But you want to know what's more annoying than being interrupted? Getting lost. And you want to know what's even more annoying? Being broke. And that's what you're going to be if you do not set up goals. Now, there's this author of this amazing book called Atomic Habits. His name is James Clear. And he does this thing called building up an anchor task. And this is what he says. Although I plan to complete other tasks during the day, my priority task is the one non-negotiable thing that must get done. I call this my anchor task because it is the mainstay that holds the rest of my day in place. And he goes on to say, the power of choosing one priority is that it naturally guides your behavior by forcing you to organize your life around that responsibility. And yeah, you do need to organize your life around your most important activities because that's how you're going to get your most important activities done. And he also says some really other important things about goals. One of the things he says is you are twice or 3 times more likely to stick to your goals if you made a specific plan for when, where, and how you perform the behavior. That's a direct quote. Now, this is more of a systems conversation, but I'll share it anyways because it's powerful. So here are some examples. After I eat my breakfast, I will meditate for 1 minute. Or before I take my morning shower, I will do 10 push-ups. And let me tell you something. Anybody can do 10 push-ups. My mom can do 10 push-ups, and she's a flat earther. I'm just kidding. She's not a flat earther. She doesn't believe in that stuff. And all you flat earthers out there, do not email me challenging me to feats of strength. You will lose. Not because you're a flat earther, but because I'm me. Okay? And I'll end on a couple things. You have to review and reassess your goals. According to the folks at Positive Psychology, once you got your goal set, you got to revisit them and also reassess them. And they say you do this because it helps you to assess your progress and also to ensure that your goals are still relevant. Now, you can do this twice a month, weekly, or even daily, but it is good to do so. And they say this is especially good if you set smaller milestones to reach on your route to your final goal. And they say it's particularly helpful because it helps you to analyze what's working, what's not working. It helps you to regroup, come up with a different goal or a different plan, and to build on what you've learned and to improve your future goal-setting strategies. All right, 2 other little nuggets of info from the people at Positive Psychology, and I'm super grateful for all the work they've done in this realm. They say, reward your successes, but don't punish yourself for failing. Because if you do that, you might give up if you metaphorically whip yourself. And shaming yourself is never good to help you to change. It just makes you feel bad about yourself. And that has to do with self-love and radical self-acceptance. Also, they say tell people about your goals, because when you tell people about your goals, that creates accountability. And I'll talk more about that in the next episode. So in review, create a vision, trust the process, make your goals smart, make sure you break them down, schedule them out, and review and reassess on your goals. All right. Yo, check. All right, here we go. Check the words that I'm throwing. I'm coming through, I'm flowing. I'm talking about goals to make your soul much, much happier. Come through when I rap these words. I'm talking about things that you just need. You need to come and bleed up on the court with a good vision so you can make decisions all the freaking time to have a better life. It's gotta inspire you. It's gotta just fire you up by the seat. Come through on the beat, spit a freestyle, and yo, I just meet with a bunch of people that understand. They gotta come through and they gotta just land with a bunch of smart things. I'm talking about the acronym, and that's what I say. I'm just traveling in this freaking mic up to your ears, busting it here, really quite clear. Kinda like James, really off the chain. Have a bunch of habits, that's how you savagely come through with a bunch of things that you bring in. Yo, I come through when I'm swinging a whole bunch of rhymes. Know that it's time to unleash the goodness up in your mind. A bunch of principles that you need to follow so you can have good todays and even better tomorrows. That's what I'm saying. A whole bunch of sorrow, not what you're gonna have, cause you're gonna come through and just blow up. You gotta show up. Trust the process, that's what you got. It's up in your face. Wax on, wax off, that's what I say. When you just rap, boss, you do a bunch of things and you just do it. After one and the second time, come through wrecking rhymes, that's what I say. Negative to positive, that's how you flip it. Come through is different, that's how I spit it. You gotta change up your words and your actions, that's what I'm saying. Coming through, I'm rapping, focus on the task, maybe the time. Crazy with rhymes. When you got a schedule, you got a bunch of things you got to break down, kind of like fractions when you put it up in action. And that's what I'm saying. Yo, I'm just passing a whole bunch of knowledge straight to you. It's kind of like an art. Your goals got to be smart, and that's what I'm saying. You got to put it in park and then go. That's how you go straight to the top. Create something hot, and that's what I'm saying. Do it right now. Schedule it now with a freestyle. That's what I'm saying. Then I go blow up in your mind and then review and then reassess, and then you ain't stressed. You got a bunch of things you gotta look back on, and that's what I say when I spit it in a rap song. Spit off the top, and that's how I go, and that's what I said with a freestyle flow. Alright, so that's all I got for this episode. If you are enjoying this podcast, if it is adding value to your life, don't forget to subscribe, and I would really appreciate it if you would leave a review on Apple Podcasts, because that's actually super helpful in getting the word out and giving credibility to what I'm doing. And I'll make sure to put instructions in the show notes so that that'll be easy for you to do. All right, I hope you're well wherever you are. I hope you enjoyed this episode and learned a thing or two. And until next time, peace!